One shot. Let's begin. Detective Gengetsu's case file. So last we figured out about the museum mystery. Now we're gonna go forward with it a little bit more. All right, everybody. Let's see if we can figure out the mystery. You have everything you need to solve the mystery and uncover the culprit. I had less info than you currently have when I solved the case, and I still managed to get the criminal to confess. What? I'm not giving you any more information. Genki-kun, tell me who the culprit is. If you get it right, I'll do anything you ask. Just once. I'll grant any one of your desires. Anything? This might be the only chance I get to ask for that. I already know what I'm going to ask you to do. I'll solve the case for sure when that happens. No takebacks, okay? No takebacks. I swear my pride as a detective. Of course, that's only if you manage to solve it. Alright, but first, one last question. In a world where security is done by robots, is it really necessary to hire a human custodian? A couple of things just don't add up. Am I still not allowed to suspect the custodian? I never said you weren't allowed to, right? But it's not a good idea to tackle two big questions at once. Am I reading too much into this? No, I'm not. Gengetsu-san is hiding something about the custodian. But if the great Gengetsu-san doesn't want me to know, do I even have a chance at figuring it out? Mystery 14. What is Gengetsu-san hiding about the custodian Kagami? Yeesh, what a glare. Trying to surpass the master on day one, huh? Now that's a promising disciple. Can't be helped. I'll give you a hint. But if you discover the truth, don't regret it. The gallery image you saw earlier in the tablet. That's your hint. So like I thought, there was something strange after all. Alright, ready to start solving the mystery? Yeah, I'll solve it right now, using my deep dive! Bloop. He's transforming. Deep dive. Deep dive boosts my deductive ability by overclocking my brain. It won't last for a few minutes, so I have to solve the case right now. Which hypotheses are valid and which are baseless? Which facts are useful and which are useless? To find out who the culprit is, I'll build a mystery map. Culprit. The first question is, why would the criminal leave the arm behind the museum? It's obvious that rather than leaving the arm behind, it'd be far better to dispose of it outside. As long as I connect the dots, the answer becomes clear. While hiding the arm, something must have happened that caught the criminal off guard. The arm was cut off to hide traces of injection from the serum. As the criminal hid, the arm they were caught off guard. Caught off guard by what? There weren't any security cameras or robots active. Perhaps he bumped into one of the others? Would that make any sense? The criminal was spotted, and that lets them quickly stash the arm in the museum. The possible pairs of who bumped into whom are Takashi x Katsurugi, Takashi x Kaido, Kaido x Namakameno, Namakameno x Kagami, and Kaido x Kagami. The relationship in four of those pairs range from negative to neutral. If one witnessed the other carrying a severed arm, it's very unlikely they keep quiet. The father and son are the most likely to cooperate with each other, whether planned or improvised. I'll start by a magic scenario where they're the criminals. If it doesn't work, I'll try the other pairs, trial and error. Would this scenario explain why the culprit would hide the arm in such a hasty way? Let's find out. Let's say Kaido killed Sekakai Hiroshi between 22:15 and 22:30. His father saw him right before 22:30. But that means Namakomono entered just 5 minutes later. And didn't Gengetsu-san say? Namakomono always came by late by an hour, but this time he was only late by a bit. He arrived at 22:35. So then maybe this is what happened when first the argument ended. Right down, museum director woman. Message from Namakomono. Sorry, boss. I'll be 20 minutes late. I told him to come on time tonight to guard the new exhibit. Well, I suppose he's less late than usual. And then after a bit of time passed, Takeshi saw that. He was confused, shocked, and horrified by what he saw, but he had no time to falter. Hurry up and hide that thing! Namakomono will be here in minutes. So Kaido hid the arm as fast as he could. He's coming in now. You better give me a proper explanation of what's going on tomorrow. but the body was discovered quickly, and the arm was found, thus sealing Kaido's fate. The 5 minutes between Takahashi leaving and Namakomono arriving, this short period of time and the circle are unique to Takahashi and Kaido and Namakomono. The scenario uniquely answers my question about the arm. Mystery number 11 solved. The criminal learned that a potential witness would be arriving soon, and thus hurried to hide the arm stored in the museum. The arm was cut off to hide traces of injection from the serum. The criminal hid the arm in a hurry because of someone arriving. Mystery 10. Who was the culprit behind the case of the museum murder? It's all starting to come together, but before I announce it, it's still bugging me. What's the deal with the custodian Kagami? What makes it worse is that Gengetsu-san said himself to consider all the possibilities, and yet he keeps stopping from investigating Kagami. My deep dive won't last much longer. Can I figure this out in time? What if? Makes sense so far. And next, so that's why I felt so strangely about those photos. I don't see him in the photo, but regardless, if it's what I think it is, then 5, 4, 14, 5, 4, 14, 9. I see. So that's the second truth I was hiding in this case. Kaito. The criminal was Kaito. Congratulations. Even more impressive than I'd hoped. Mystery 10 solved. The criminal was Kaito. I'm correct? Yup. I also suspected the father and son and focused my interrogation on them. Kaito confessed completely. Oh, okay. Don't you want to know how I came to that conclusion, though? I already know. You were muttering it all out loud. Deep dive. Pretty cool superpower you got there. Please forget all that. Oh, I'm so cringe. What a cute kid. Now, since you solved the case, as I promised, I'll grant you a wish. What would you like? Gengetsu-san, I've been wanting your help regarding this for a long time. It's actually one of the biggest reasons I even came here. But I wasn't sure if it was okay to get you involved. Can I have your signature? Okay. I thought he was going to ask you to avenge his father or something. The case is solved. I got a signature. Awesome. Wait, the case is solved? No, it can't be over yet. Then what was Kaido's motive? Mystery 15. What was Kaido's motive? Oh yeah, I've been noticing this all day. But you really do ask some interesting questions. The motive is the most important thing in a case. The heart is the origin of all mysteries. There are no heartless crimes. I see. That's an interesting take. I'll go over the motive later, though it's sure to disappoint you. But first, did you figure anything out about the custodian? I think so, and the truth is surprising. I barely even care about who the murderer was now. You really pulled one over me, Gengetsu-san. I don't remember lying to you, though. Yeah, you didn't lie. You only told truths. A very crime corp-like way of doing things. Do tell. Earlier, you brought up the case of the high school serial public defector. It occurred at your high school when you were a high school student. Mystery number 5. What was the truth behind the case of the high school serial public defecator? Back then, I noticed you used a plural pronoun, R. Next, regarding the name of your agency. You said that you've used that name for a long time. I underestimated just how long you meant. Maybe. It's not that you've run this agency in its current form for a few years, but rather, the name itself came from a long time ago. Like maybe your high school days? 5, 4. Gengetsu-san has used the agency name for a long time. Yeah, it's been around since high school. So what? So in other words, Mystery 4 solved. You investigated mysteries as a group in high school under the same name, so you have precious memories and an emotional connection to the name. That's correct. Me and a bunch of my old friends formed the Matanatai Club, initially to solve the case of the high school serial public defector. I thought you were more of a lone wolf, but you had friends you cared about, which leads me to my main point. The images in the tablet. You said you got them from social media, which lists recent photos first. And for the photos to be useful for the case, they should be recent anyways. That's why I immediately found it strange that there'd be a photo of Sekakaki when he was a kid. The photo that carried was from a while back. Did I make it too obvious? Gengetsu-san, Might you be in this photo as well? Yeah, right here. What? But that doesn't look like you at all. Puberty hit me hard. No, it's more than that. The facial structure, facial features, even the beauty marker under the eye. It's a completely different person. Why does Gengetsu-san look so different? So, were you close with Sakaki-san? Do you think so? You've always referred to him as Hiroshi-chan. I thought that was strange. But I thought maybe you referred to victims in any of your cases with Chan, and calling your father, the son by their first name threw me off as well. But in addition to how you called him, you said you got yourself hired for the museum case. Then Getsu-san I know wouldn't take on a random case for no reason. That's right. Hiroshi-chan was my best friend, and one of the 7 founding members of the Metsuntai Club. But what does any of this have to do with the custodian? I'm sure you know the answer to that question very well. I have no solid proof, but why did you take on this case? Because your best friend was the victim. Why did you keep acting as if doubting the custodian was a waste of time? Because you were 100% convinced of his innocence. How did the custodian discover the body so abnormally quickly? Because he had experience with dealing with crimes and investigation. Gengetsu-san, I don't know how, but you were Kagami the custodian. Kagami no Sieto, which is a pseudonym you came up with. You left a hint in the kanji. I honestly didn't expect you to get this far. Well done. A childhood photo Sekaki. Mystery 14. Solved. The custodian was Gengetsu, which means you had a job. Let's go in front of your mother right away. She still thinks you're a NEET. Is that really where your mind goes first? Well, I do have a question about you being Kagami, and again, it's about a motive. Why did you do it? Why was Gengetsu-san the custodian? Honestly, this motive is also disappointing, but first, don't you have any ideas? He really loves his motives, huh? Well, before, you said that Sekiki-san couldn't convince the museum director to hire any more staff. I thought he said his memory wasn't that good. So maybe you asked Sekiki-san to hire you as the custodian. But I want to know why you asked to be hired. It can't be that you already knew a crime was going to take place, right? I just wanted to see my friend's exhibit earlier than anyone else. For free. Without a crowd. Well, having to line up to get in. But, huh? You telling me you got hired as a custodian because of reasons like that? Then, why didn't you just come work for us that day? I'm just stating the facts. See, I chose the motive would be disappointing. Not every mystery has a satisfying heart. Also, I hadn't seen Hiroshi-chan for a long time, so I wanted to spend some time with him to celebrate the opening of his new exhibit together. And yeah, just in case, I wanted to keep an eye out for any suspicious activity. So, I showed up early, 3 a.m. I thought I was early, but really, I got there too late. Too late to ever talk to my dear friend. Ever again. Mystery 17 solved. Gengetsu is the custodian so you could see the exhibit in advance. That's my motive, Genki-kun. Thank you for explaining that, Gengetsu-san. If I may ask, the reason you didn't want to be associated with the case was that the police had known your connection to the victim. You might have fallen under more scrutiny, and it would have made them solving the murder of your dear friend harder. Is that it? Actually, that's not the reason at all. Mystery 9. Why did Gengetsu not want to be associated with the case of the museum murder? Well, I'll get to that after we talk about Kaido's motive. That order makes more sense. Understood. Like I warned you, it'll be disappointing. I was investigating as Kagami, using my detective tool, perfect disguise. I pressured Kaido in front of everyone. Gradually, his trust built, and suddenly, his mental defense broke down as if a string had snapped. Now, why would you kill poor innocent Hiroshi-chan? Kaito, oi! Innocent-chan, so Hiroshi got what you deserve. Oh, got what you deserved. He was my favorite wartime historian. I bought all his books, all the premium tickets to his talks. I recorded all his TV appearances. The romance and glory of war heroes who die and become dust. Who does the killing and become a pioneer of a new world? That's the beauty of war. And yes, Sekiki-san sold out. A jewelry exhibit. How dare he?
He spat in the face of his biggest fan. Me. That's unforgivable. That wasn't Sekiki anymore. I killed him for his own good. What would you know about the man named Sekiki Hiroshi?
Oi, stop the provocations. Kaito, drop the weapon and hands up now.
Let's see, what would I know? Are you questioning my faith in Sekiki? I understand him better than anyone else in this world. Useless. This laser chisel will cut through anything. What? That's impossible. You've clearly lost your mind. You need to remember that crime tools only work during the week that they're purchased. And it's already Monday. Your crime tool is just an expensive toy now. Huh?
What are you doing? Shoot already. But from this angle, I might hit Kagami. Let's see. There's no doubt about it. Kagami's using a detective tool. Just who is he?
Even if my crime tool doesn't work anymore, if I hit you enough time, you'll still die.
Detective tool. Magnifying glass. Activate. Shield mode. Sword mode. Don't you dare claim to understand Sekiki Hiroshi. He's not some war fanatic. He wanted us to learn from more so we could support an age of peace. You see, me and Sekiki were not fans of violence. But unlike Sekiki was always calm and wouldn't hurt a fly, I was never good at holding my emotions back. Magnifying glass. Deactivate. Detective tool teleportation cloth. Activate. Mystery 15 solved. Kaido's motive was that he couldn't forgive Sekiki for selling out. See? A disappointing motive. No?
Forget that. You fought Kaido with detective tools and escaped with a teleportation cloth? There's actually a cloth that lets you teleport?
It's basically just a cheap magic trick my friend created. I just put on the basic invisibility cloak he developed, and then I toss out a second cloak so it looks like I teleported.
Basic invisibility cloak and also shield mode, sword mode? That's crazy.
Yeah, it really was crazy. I lost control of my temper. If Hiroshi-chan and the rest of the gang hadn't seen me, I'm sure they'd made fun of me, saying that I haven't grown up at all in these 10 years. Thinking back, Hiroshi-chan was always reading something. He'd have a good answer to any question. We had like a walking encyclopedia. He was probably the smartest out of all of us, though. I'm sure he'd protest that. I can't even count the number of cases we only solved thanks to his help. Gengetsu-san. I say cases, but really, we were just kids having fun, solving the 7 mysteries of the school. Stuff like that. We were just some kids playing around. That's all it was supposed to be. But on that day, we saw something we shouldn't have.
Gengetsu-san! He's trembling. What's wrong, Gengetsu-san? Gengetsu-san! Gengetsu-san! He's saying something. He's repeating something to himself. What is he saying?
I can't do this anymore, but I'm a detective. I'm a detective. I'm a detective. I'm a detective. I'm a detective.
Gengetsu-san! You're in your room. I'm here. You're safe. It's gonna be okay. Gengetsu-san!
Shin-chan, keep it down there. Mommy's trying to watch TV. On that day, we were investigating some small neighborhood case for fun. We didn't know back then that that day would haunt us for the rest of our lives. On that day, 7 innocent high schoolers set foot into a world they never should have. On that day, we discovered the truth to that case.
Mystery 18, what was that case? Mystery 19, what was the truth of that case?
It's all my fault. Everything that happened in these past 10 years. If only I hadn't taken on that case. If only I hadn't opened that door. If only I'd never become a detective. Yet again, one of my Nakama's lives have been robbed by those crime tools, by Crime Corp. The man won't ever let us live in peace. That man will keep hunting down the children from that day until they're all dead. Haruto, Mio, please take care of Hiroshi-chan. He's heading to where you two are. Taiga, Sora, Kaito. Don't die, please. I swear. I swear.
Raishan Rhea, mark my words, I will hunt you down. I I swear, Al, I knew it. I'm sure different people would see you differently, but to me, Gengetsu-san, you're amazing. I was definitely right to come. Sorry, I got too emotional again. Forget everything you heard just now. I can't involve you in all this, and I don't plan to actively rush on myself either. The enemy is backed by Crime Corp, and thus the government also. I'm not going to accomplish anything by becoming a vigilante. No, not a vigilante, not a hero, not an adventurer. I'm a detective. A detective. A detective. A detective. I'm just a detective. Don't worry. I can assure your safety. I'll explain that later, but if you're still willing to join me, I promise I'll raise you to a fine detective. Who am I kidding? Who joins someone as pathetic as me? Of course I'm joining! More importantly, the way you've been talking, you seem convinced that Raishan got Kaido to commit the crime. Is that why Kaido's motive was so shallow? More importantly, yeah, it's likely that Raishan used the will booster criminal tool on Kaido. As long as Kaido had a bit of enmity towards Hiroshi-chan, if Hiroshi slid Kaido a will booster pill and smooth talked him, it would naturally lead to a crime. That's why, while I respect your dedication to the motive, location, time, and even the human heart, with the proper application of crime tools, all those could be warped beyond common sense. And then Raishan is involved, searching for a motive, is like trying to find the motive of a pawn in chess. In the end, only the king knows why. Then, did you at least manage to get any leads on Raishan from Kaido? Do you really think that Raishan wanted to clean up after himself? I see. So Kaido's already dead. Thank you for the explanation. Now I understand why you had to stay undercover for the case. Mystery 9 solved. Gengetsu didn't want to be associated with the museum case, but he had his connection to Seki had been revealed. It could take Gengetsu and his own Nakama being easy targets. But I still have a few questions. You look totally different in the photo of Sekiki-kun. Was that because you were using? Yeah, that's right. Ever since I started attending school, I've been using the detective tool, Perfect Disguise, non-stop. I also use an alias. What kind of kid were you, Gengetsu-san? Mystery 16 solved. Gengetsu didn't seem to be in the photo because he used Perfect Disguise when he was a kid. So, are you using Perfect Disguise now as well? Is that your real face? Is your real name even Gengetsu? Well now, I wonder that myself sometimes. No fair. I get that it's for safety reasons, but still. Oh. So is that why you said you could assure my safety? Because your identity is unknown? Well, that and my school is 100 kilometers away from here. After some unrelated stuff happened, I changed my legal documents and Perfect Disguise, and I moved here and became a NEET. So you're a NEET after all. Mystery 21. Why did Gengetsu move away and withdraw from society? So, is this like a second life for you? Yeah. In those 10 years, I haven't been in touch with almost anyone from my previous life, so I'm 100% safe. No criminal can track me down. I don't see myself dying. Gengetsu-san, please don't set up death flags like that. You might be untraceable using conventional means of investigation, but with modern surveillance technology, AI analysis tools, and crime tools, you can't ever say you're truly safe. Oh? But I can. You see, one of my old buds, Taiga, is one of the world's top 3 tech geniuses. He's a master hacker and inventor, and most of the detective tools I use were made by him. He's completely erased any data related to my old life. Taiga's skill is beyond doubt. I could say for sure that as long as I don't advertise who I am, no one could track me down. Hiroshi-chan. He lived out his dream traveling the world and revolutionized the study of history, and ended up becoming famous. He stepped into the world of the light, and they made him a target for Raishan. As long as we stay out of the light and keep dwelling in the shadows, we'll be safe. Even though we can't pursue our dream, life is still worth living. I sense the strong sense of resolve in Gengetsu-san's world. I'm sure he had been thinking about his answers to this unfair world and mystery for a long time now. But even then, I detected a faint trace of defiance in him. After all, Even though he took many precautions like the perfect disguise, fake alias, and so on, there's one thing he overlooked, or rather, I'm convinced that it was on purpose. This is just a hypothesis. I have no proof or logic behind this, but I think he didn't change his logo because it's a declaration to himself and to this broken world. It's a desperate cry. Despite it all, we're still alive. The My Tentai Club is still alive. Even though he had to throw everything away to live in the shadows, in the end, he couldn't throw away the name that they once shared. Mystery 4 Solution Update. Gengetsu won't change the name and logo because the My Tentai Club is still alive. I didn't say it out loud because I'm sure you'd have chastised me, but in that moment, I decided I would fight back Gengetsu-san side until the bitter end. Thus conclude my first day as an apprentice at Gengetsu Detective Agency. Thanks again for the cookies. Tell your mother thanks for me too, please. Note, this is not Gengetsu-san talking. This person speaks roughly days. What? Yo, yeah, really think that Brad has what it takes? Yeah, he's gonna be big one day. Mysteries in progress. Oh, that's fun. What's mystery number 1? What is mystery number 1? Who introduced Genki to Gengetsu? Gonna kill 5. What was the truth behind the public defecator? Okay, sure. Okay. Well, I appreciate that it's more than meets the eye in this case. I started to like this story more and more as it just went on. I feel like this was a little bit too much of a slow burn. If they just had more natural breaks or whatever in between them, it'd be nice. For just the sake of reading comprehension, of course, and just reading fatigue. Not to say it's too much, but it's a lot. And I think that there is a foundation here that's set up for the rest of the story. I just don't think this series would ever really be picked up. This is one that would have to be independently published. It's like as a chapter 1 this goes, you have half the pages. And the impact, you could probably get rid of a bunch of this, but this needs a lot of cleaning up, is the way I'd put it here. Is that it needs to be shorter, a little bit snappier here, and it could easily cut out a lot of these pages here. I mean, it does kind of set up an intriguing mystery, but this should be in like 2-3 chapters here. And even then, it's still kind of, you know? Is the way I'd put it. So maybe this is one that has to be independently published because I don't think individually it would particularly do well. Now, I think it sets up so that it's very interesting, right? It has a world here. They're talking about the criminal stuff here. I think the only thing that really threw me off about this is the intro. I feel kind of does bad for the story, to be honest. Like, I think the idea of him being a NEET and his mom going is kind of funny. Like, but I think it takes away from a lot of the severity it did here. Because the fact that his mom is there and is, like, chastising him and, like, this, that, or the other, it makes me feel like it was hard for me to take this guy seriously in the slightest here. I think that was my problem here. They kind of undermine him for the sake of comedy, but then they try to build him back up again. And that's why like, it's hard for me to take him seriously. Because if they kind of, maybe did a little bit different with the mother stuff here, I think the idea of the Genki-kun or the 5 or whatever still living is a really nice idea. I think the idea of, potentially him being tied to a mystery is also a really good idea, right? I think that they had a story, but if this is spread over several chapters, it could be better, right? So rather than the whole, like, hey, the mystery club here, you could kind of spread it out even sooner, right? Like, you could say, like, hey, we got chapter 1 here. The mom stuff comes out a little bit later here. And in fact, that could also be, like, the end of, like, chapter 2 or 3. Like, you have him do the mystery here. He solves it here. And then this whole thing of, like, hey, why do you never get customers could easily be chapter 2, right? It could be like, oh, why do you never get customers here as he comes back the next day? And this first day could be like, hey, you're amazing here.
What happened with this museum case? And like, you don't need to introduce so many criminal things here. You could be like, hey, there's some criminal tools here, and they're used in such a way. Um, because I also don't think the fight was necessarily complete there. I think you could have done this a number of different ways, so that way it's a little bit more legible, a little bit more readable. But the best part, I think, was that when he was like teaching him how to like round up data, and it's okay, he is suddenly teaching them here, and you could have ended on a cliffhanger, and then you get talk about like more of the crime tools, right? As you go here, like you hinted, like here's one crime tool, and a second one, and then boom, like him being involved directly could have been like a separate thing, and you can make this case even bigger, right? Make it a chapter 3 or 4 where you hear about his involvement here or there, where he goes like, wait a minute, what about this? Or you don't even have to have him be the custodian, right? You could have him just be a whatever person. Like there's a lot of details I think that could be spread out over the part of a volume, and you'll have a more complete story with potential on the other side here. It's a lot of good ideas. It's a lot of potential. It's just kind of packed into one story. And maybe that's what they intended, right? They're like, hey, we're going to make it so dense, however the way you want it, that it's lovely. We have the mystery, and a lot of things do wrap up kind of nicely here. I also like in particular this ending panel, like, okay, here are the mysteries still in progress here. We didn't solve anything. I think this is a really good chart. Like you just have this here, and eventually it's like 1 through 80, 1 through 100 there. And I like the concept of a mystery counter coming up every single time. It's like, okay, now we solve a mystery, so we see how many he does. And that's what I think. It has a lot of potential. It has a lot of ideas. It's just that this story structure, especially for a one shot, needs to be revisited. And part of it too is, again, manga's a very visual medium, and if they just essentially make it a short story or a novel, I'd feel differently about this. It's like, okay, we got this mystery here, da 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 da. But I feel like it doesn't necessarily benefit from the medium itself, right? And I mean, this guy's like super serious detective mode, I forget what it's called. It's a nice gag, the deep dive mode. Should do that. But I also wouldn't hate this idea. I don't hate it. I think it could be better executed if it was like something in another chapter. It was like, hey, he unlocked it through his training with Gengetsu. I think that'd be another good idea. Because if you don't have Gengetsu like solve the case, prove he's an amazing detective, he's just kind of a trainer, sure. But I like the idea of him like going, hey, I'm gonna teach you how to do this here, da 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 da. Now you unlock deep dive for a further case down the line. Because this just kind of comes out of nowhere, right? Because I don't. That's the thing. Because I was thinking this guy was an author of some kind. He was just like a story fan, and this kid was just a fanboy more than anything else, right? Uh, there's clearly more at stake here when it comes to everything. You know, keep dwelling in the shadows. Nice. Broke into the world. Yeah, but yeah, I think good concepts, good plot to an extent here. If it was just structured differently or told over a longer thing, so you could flesh more things out. Um, but yeah, it was fun. It was a little bit much to read, and I think that's also part of my bias here is that I was reading this entire time, and you know, you read so much, keep up the ideas in here that it kind of. But then I do acknowledge there are a ton of concepts that have a lot of validity here. It's just that they need to restructure them and make it over a longer 4 or 5 pages. I criticized George for this in the past, where it's like you've done too much in such a short amount of time. I know you have this run, I know you have this expansion, but you're self-publishing. Give us like 5 chapters instead, right? And then make sure everything's well developed. I guess we'll call that everything, everybody. So with all that being said, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for being born, y'all. Peace out.